What's up, YouTube? So to continue my series on the planets, today we're going to talk about the sun. So normally when we think about our astrology, people think of their sun sign, right? Like that's where the sun was at the time of our birth. And when you really get into astrology and you practice it for a long time, you start to look at the rest of the chart and see what else is going on, because the sun sign is really just one component of who we are. And the sun in astrology is a strong component, obviously. Like the sun is the center of the galaxy. So it's well noted, right? You know, the sun is synonymous with Leo and the fifth house, and it's when everything shines and we get to play. The sun in astrology, though, it really only points to a part of us, which is our ego identification, really. It's basically like if Leo's motto is I am, and the sun's expression is I am. And so when we think of the sun, we think about things that we identify with. I am a teacher. I am a mother. I am a doctor. I am a woman, a son, whatever. Like it's all of the things that we identify with that we can express to the outer world pretty easily, right? And for those who know us, it's kind of what we're known for. Things that are easy to spot about us or recognize when it comes to personality. So the ascendant is the persona. So it would be like first impressions, rules the constitution, the physical body. Like we get a lot of hints about someone, their physical body, when we look at the ascendant sign, and also just how they kind of come off initially. But once someone gets to know you, you're much more about your sun, because obviously, like who you are and what you do, those things are very much in alignment with the sun. Now, some people really do relate more to their sun than, say, their moon, and that has a lot to do with the time of day you're born. Typically, like if you're born during the day, you're more likely to identify with your sun sign. If you're born at night, you're much more likely to identify with your moon sign. And that's not uncommon either. It's interesting too, because like you probably have met someone in your life and you're like, what? You're an Aquarius? To me, you come across as so Piscean or something, right? And you don't really understand why there's this disconnect there. And so that's part of it. The other part of it could be if you do not have a well aspected sun. If your sun is blocked by, let's say, like if it's smushed in between, like if it's in a stellium smushed in between like Uranus or Saturn and Neptune, like the sun is kind of squished in there, then it's not really well aspected. When you were born, your sun wasn't just on its own, like here I am world. It was kind of like with a tribe, and it wasn't really clear. Its own expression wasn't very loud. If it's got a lot of oppositions or squares to the sun, same thing. Like it can kind of block how you come off. Ironically, for example, my ascendant is squared by Saturn, so people tend to misread me when they see me with this in my chart. And my sun, because it's 10th house Aries conjunct the midheaven, dominates my chart. So people really see that more than anything. Even when I try to show them other aspects of myself, they just see that sun. It's glaringly obvious at the top of the chart, shining down on everything. So depending on where your sun sign is at, how it's aspected in the natal chart, really says a lot about like how you come across and like what you identify with. So if you are like, say, a Taurus sun, that's a fixed energy. So you're going to come across as a little more stubborn, kind of more set in your ways. really concerned with possessions and what you have. If, say, you're a Pisces sun, then you're going to come across as a little bit more flexible, maybe too flexible, very refined. Pisces is a refined energy. It's artistic, psychic. So yeah, depending on where the sun is, this becomes kind of the expression that you tend to give, and then thus the things that you identify with, right? I'm an Aries sun. I'm very bold, very brash. I have it top of my chart. So like taking the lead on things is natural for me. And that whole trailblazing entrepreneur energy is very, very normal for me. That's how people know me. And for example, even when I struggle, people don't see the struggle. They just see the fact that I have this strength, this beautiful sun that holds so much power in my chart. So they're like, you're fine. It's like, no, really, I'm struggling. And they're like, but you got this, look. And so, yeah, depending on where your sun is, it can really kind of make or break how people see you ultimately. And kind of how you show up and express yourself in the world, right? So this is, again, this is like the core of who we are, right? I am, and it's what we point to the most when we look at the horoscope, when we look at someone's chart, we're looking at the sun. And yeah, if you have ever felt like I just don't really relate to my sign, that's okay. Again, it's because there are things in your chart aspecting your sun that make it hard for this particular energy to really express itself independent of those things. Totally normal, nothing wrong with you. And only after we look at the chart can we discover that, right? So obviously the house that it's in plays a critical role. If your sun is in the 4th house, then home is going to be a place where you really shine. If the sun is in the 10th house, then being out in the world and dealing with public image is going to be a place where you really shine, right? So that kind of tells us where we shine. And then when it's transiting, you know, the sun moves quick. The sun obviously changes signs roughly every like 28, 30 days, right? Like once a month, we get a change in the sun. And it goes through all 13 signs in the course of a year. And during these shifts, it's going to go through different signs and different parts of your chart. And it's just going to highlight, right? But the thing about the inner planets is they move so fast that like you don't really have enough time to form a long relationship to massive change. They're just like, it comes through, it highlights this area of your life and moves on. Like when the sun goes into Taurus, that's the 2nd house of money. For whatever reason, whenever the sun goes into Taurus, and my chart, it's Leo. Leo is on the 2nd house cusp. But like I make so much money in May. That is like my month every year where for whatever reason, I'm just going to make tons of money. And all I can chalk it up to is the fact that like the sun in Taurus, 2nd house cusp for me, right? Even though it's technically moving through my 11th house, like it's physically moving through the 11th on my chart, it's making a relationship to that 2nd house because of Leo. And so yeah, like again, like when you know these things, you can prepare and plan for them, be like, oh, that month is coming, let's make it even more exponential than it usually is. So again, like the sun is going to make its way around. It's the self-expression. It's where we shine. It's where we really find our ego self and our identity in our lives. And when it's transiting, it's going to bring light, shine light to that area of our chart. And so, yeah. And again, even if it hits a point, it doesn't stay long, a couple days. So like when the sun is conjunct Jupiter or conjunct Venus or conjunct your moon, you can really like go, okay, this is a good time to experience X, Y, and Z, or to make plans, or to make, intentions, right? Like we do on new moons when the sun and the moon are conjunct. So this is basically how the sun works in a nutshell. And I hope that was helpful. Again, like I'm going to continue with all of the planets just so that way you guys have an idea. As an astrologer in transit, I'm always looking at the outer planets. That's where I really look to see the changes people are going through. But the sun is important. The sun is who you are and who I get to know if I read for you and have a relationship with you on some level. So if you're interested in having your horoscope read, I am available at this time to do chart readings. So feel free to email me. My email is below. All right. And I'll talk soon, guys. Bye.